So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Darren Needham, who's Managing Director at the Ark Media. So, firstly, Darren, thank you for coming on board and spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, your business, what you do, how you help people, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris, and thank you for the opportunity. My name's Darren Needham, and I'm the MD, as you said, of the Ark Marketing Media. We're based in Leeds, in beautiful Pudsey, and we've been here 22 years. There's various names. We're an integrated full-service agency, but in more simplistic terms, we deal with customers and businesses across Yorkshire, the North, and the UK. But to give you an example, we've got some fantastic clients, which include people like Hisense, Express by Folding Doors, West Yorkshire Combined Authority, Leeds Hospital Charities, St Gemma's. We deal with a lot of companies locally.
Yeah.
I'm born and bred in Leeds. Our agency's in Leeds. We deal with like Leeds Bid, Leeds International Festival, Monopoly. So we do a lot of great campaigns, which you'll see come to the high streets and populate there, communicating people locally. So what we'll do everything from design, print, media planning, buying, strategy, filming, script writing. So really, depending on what a client wants, we offer a full service agency provision.
Brilliant. Brilliant, and I had a quick look on your website before we came online, and what struck me was that the TV and video media that you clearly do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that and how that might help a client.
Yeah, we're an independent agency, so what that means is, in simple terms, we're not associated with any network agencies, we're not associated with any specialists.
Yep.
And I think the difference from us of over 30 odd years of experience, everything we have is generally in-house.
Yep.
So we have a wonderful production team. So having worked in obviously a wonderful media landscape and obviously on there, you'd normally go through an independent media owner who would obviously have a radio station and create a script. Because we're media agnostic, we'll use who's right for the client.
Great.
So we'll choose the right media, right radio station, whether that's traditional linear or, for example, digital. But then what we would do is we would create the script, the tone, the tonality, the messaging, the style, all in-house, right for the client. And as we're independent and media agnostic, we'll do what's right for the client across the whole media landscape with no incentives on media from any owner.
Love it. And one thing that is appearing to me, you're guys the experts, but the sort of investment levels of creating something significant are coming down and down. We primarily work with sort of SME businesses, but it is now within the budgets of reasonable sized SME type businesses, whereas probably things like TV and stuff always felt like it was the realm of the blue chips and the large corporations. Is that your view too?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, especially about TV, which we obviously do, it's a real area where we focus on because it's a real area of expertise. Not only with planning and buying the media, I think, as you said, a lot of it is perception. So I think people's perception is it's unaffordable. It's not for me. It's for the bigger companies. And actually, when you look at the cost involved in it, a production can be the sell products. It can be from £2,000 to £5,000 for a TV production, and we hold their hand because the biggest thing where they worry about is obviously compliance and substantiations, right?
Yes.
With what we call clearcast approval, where because we're experts, we can hold people's hands and we already write the script ready to actually know this is what as these clearcasts are going to want to know. These are the substantiations you need to tell us. How can you say you are the best in this area? What research? How have you got the biggest market? So when people see what quality can be done and for the affordable entry levels, people are really surprised.
Yeah, brilliant. We, as an organisation, we've got a relationship. We've built a relationship with Sky over time for lots of different reasons, and we've seen that. But it's great to know that somebody like yourself, local to me and my businesses locally, my clients, because I think that connection with getting it done. There's the media's there, but it's actually getting a great ad out and filmed and as you said, scripted with compliance, because I would imagine that can be a little bit of a minefield.
think compliance is probably the biggest area where people have concern, especially if it's public sector. So we've been working on some, won't mention your name, but with some national hospices and public sector where their worry is actually, are they being legal, everything they're saying, and also making sure they could back, which is where we make sure you don't need to worry. That's our area of expertise. We'll make sure we take care of it for you. I mean, there's a lot of talk obviously in the media landscape about AI, as there is in a lot of these, obviously, the whole country. And there is companies, as you mentioned, Sky, various other companies have an AI product you can use, right? And it's there. And with like anything, you can process a simple advert which you'll create with an AI voice, an AI tone, AI images, things like that. But also, you can do it with real people, with a real shot for a full day, and it doesn't have to cost arm and a leg. But you're talking to real people and taking them through it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've just started having a conversation with my local person, and even they didn't really see that as a real option, if that makes sense. It was like you could do it, but it's like it's a bit budget level, and consequently that was the way it was sort of positioned to me. I'm not whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, but it was like that. I got the message that perhaps that's if you really, really want to stretch your budget to the lowest it could be, maybe that's going to work. But I
think there's lots of options out there. I think everyone works on a different margin, different profit things.
Yeah.
Ours is about being here for a long time, and it's actually enabling people to actually access that opportunities. And it's like anything, once somebody tests the market with a campaign, and it's end of the day, it's the right creative with the right message reaching the right people, delivers the best response. And if you do that right and you look after people, then you can see the business grow. You're part of it, and then you grow together.
Love it, absolutely love it. So, Darren, maybe if we start sort of looking backwards a little bit, you can tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got into business, and why this particular one for you.
Yeah, so dare I say, as you can probably see with some grey hairs, I started obviously working in the media landscape back in the 90s, in the mid-90s. And in that day, obviously, the media landscape was traditionally different. And so I started in regional press, as a lot of people have done. So obviously, I live in Leeds, and I started working for what was Yorkshire Post newspaper group, Johnson Press, RAM. And I was very fortunate to really get the schooling, I would say, learning what media was, with the different platforms, with the different newspapers. This is before it all became, if you want to call it, Google, right? Which is what it was. Newspapers, in my opinion, was the 90s version of Google. If you wanted something, whether that was recruitment, motors, updated news, your property, you went to your local newspaper. And in those days, Leeds has got Leeds population 750,000. I think they used to sell 220,000 copies back in the 90s. So you can see what scale and size it was, and they would take millions and millions of revenue each week. So great opportunity to learn and progress, and they invested in people. In the newspapers in the 90s and 2000s, they really invested in people, in the training, the opportunities to progress and learn. So I spent a good 12 years working in regional press across the whole of Yorkshire. And then at the time when the group I was with decided not to go digital, which I still remember presenting to the chairman and the editors, one of the youngest commercial directors, presented on the quarterly podium saying, we need to go online, and it was literally being shot down of actually, no, we're a touch it, feel it product, we will not be going online, which is obviously killed it, right? But I had the opportunity to go work in other mediums, and obviously I chose out of home, and I chose audio on radio, because it was for me, there were channels where you could engage with mass audience, broadcast mediums, but work on a visual and an emotional type by telling the story, people seeing it. So I had the opportunity to work for Viacom, CBS, Exterior, Global Media, from the TFL contract to North East to Northwest, Yorkshire, Midlands. So I really experienced a lot of different towns, cities, and obviously media landscapes. So it gave me a really good grounding to work with businesses across all those regions, see what they want to do, how you can work with them, which got me to a real good point of actually, I've got a wide level of knowledge and experience of working with customers, building their businesses, transforming their messages and communicating with their customers. And then I had an opportunity to come and work with the Ark Marketing Media, which was two former directors I'd worked with at Yorkshire Post newspapers back in the 90s. And when I sat down and obviously was offered a position to come and work with him as a director and shareholder, it was like, oh, I love the vision. I could see where the business wanted to go, but with my different level of expertise and knowledge in other sectors to help the business come on and have a different strategy to move forward where it was currently doing fantastic, but actually just take it, hopefully, to the next level. So because of the people and the vision is where I came and joined the Ark as a commercial director, and obviously recently, obviously not so long ago, took over as the MD.
Brilliant. Love it. What a journey, and what a change you must have seen in your you described in your industry over that time.
Yeah, I think I call it the fragmentation of media. So if you think of a traditional medium and the circulation and readership, and then you look at obviously the new mediums which come on, whether that's social media, your digital platforms, your connected TVs, right? Your opportunities to engage with people with smarter targeting and better, obviously, animation, and obviously from our point, a lot more people are wanting better insights and research. So with pixel-based tracking and obviously being able to find out the cost per acquisition and target people by postcodes, and then obviously reach people around areas, it's really changed. And I think the biggest difficulty is just keeping up with the constant change of media landscape.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? It's just, I can imagine, especially in your career, that all those changes have been quite significant. So looking back for a little while, what do you say were some of the biggest issues and challenges you've had to overcome over that time?
Yeah, focusing on just on business is obviously, I would say it's probably the ever-changing media landscape. Because we cover all spectrums, whether that's broadcast and print, digital. Let's just say, for example, as you'll probably know, it could be Meta, Google, whoever it may be, might be changing an algorithm overnight. What changes that have an effect on the clients? So I think because the landscape's always evolving, it's actually understanding what does that mean? What does it mean for the client? How is media owner changing? What's the landscape, right? And from us keeping abreast of it, our idea is obviously saving people time, having the insights, and having one point of contact. It's understanding what's the benefits and advantages of every media owner's offerings, and making sure we come to the forefront with the right information at the right time. So I suppose it's keeping abreast of all of that ever-changing data and analysing it and making it in simple, because I think sometimes we all, especially with the media owners, we talk in jargon, or they do, and I think it's actually making sure, actually, if it's an SME or a business owner, what does that mean to them, right? This is all you need to know, and that's what the proposition is.
Brilliant. And it's music to my ears, especially because one of the things we teach business owners about is the measurement of marketing is so critical. And I totally understand and accept the value of, if I call it branding in terms of unmeasured marketing, stuff that gets our name out and gives an impression, all that has value. But we do a lot of work with our clients of how can we measure this marketing, because it allows us, as we say to our clients, to have an unlimited marketing budget. If you spend £1,000 on a marketing strategy and it gives you £2,000 back in profit, then spend 10 and get 20, or 100 to get 200. But you can only do that when it's measured. So the importance of data and the ability to demonstrate that return on investment is so key. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest challenge we have, and we have a discussion because you've got two areas. You've got brand, and then obviously you've got activation and measuring response. But they do work hand in hand.
100%.
That's the brand trust, recognition, the logo, and obviously people to understand it, because people will shop where they're invited, but they also want to understand it, recognise it, and feel comfortable with it, right? And that changes across sectors. However, we work with private and public sector, and you might have, let's just say, out of home. So you could do a wonderful bus campaign, right? Which will be highly visible, highly engaged with the communities, but it's a broadcast medium, so people will say, well, how do I know what level of response I've had, right? And it's hard until you say, actually, what activity did you have prior to that investment? What was your Google Analytics? Did they increase? Did they improve, right? What's the recall? Where some people, and even with radio, you can do digital radio, where you target people by specific postcode, affluence, but you pay at what we would call a higher CPM, higher cost per thousand to reach someone on digital because it's very niche. Or you could advertise on hard, smooth, greatest hits, any of the media owner's option, and go in a wider area. But it's like broadcast. But again, you could have something where you pay higher CPM, reach less people, but you can do pixel-based tracking, so you can see who's heard it, who's responded, and you can measure it. So a lot of public sector companies will say, do you know what, I want to do that. But I'm like, but you'll reach less people, right? And they'll hear it less, but we can prove how many people reacted. And sometimes people, I'll do that because it's public sector money, I want to do it, which is understandable, but it's trying to get a nice blend between brand recognition, brand building, and basically activation, and obviously being able to measure your response, along with a lot of people do retargeting.
Yeah, no, that's why it's really refreshing to hear you talk about measurement, because I think it can be. I don't want to be critical of it, but it can be. Even the business owners we work with, they go, "Well, we can't measure that. Well, what can we measure?" Because as you rightly say, it doesn't have. Maybe it's not a direct connection, but it's an indirect connection of if you, as you said, if your hits on your website are going up at the same time an advert's going out or something, there is some way, hopefully, of connecting it to it. And not accepting that branding also has value, even though that is probably less and less likely to be measured. But it's that, as you said, it's the blend of the two, isn't it? It's really key.
I think the key words that everyone talks about now is targeting and attribution. If I'm honest with you, from us, they're the two key areas.
Brilliant.
How clever can you do your targeting? What level of attribution have you got? And how can you show me a measurement? And how can I say we've driven someone to respond? Which is clearly what we do. And I think because of the data access we've got and all the media owners, we do that with a lot of clients on a daily basis.
Brilliant. Love it. And what would you say, Darren, are the biggest learnings you've had about growing a business? What do you think are the most important things?
The biggest learnings is probably the usual thing is taking time to reflect and review. And I think that's like in everyday life. I think a lot of people could say that it's actually, I've got an idea, let me run 100% straight ahead with it, right? Probably for us, I've been guilty of systems. We've gone with a system. I've had an idea and then run 100%. Let's go this. And I've invested so much money. But then in all reality, when I've looked at it, is it fit for purpose? Does it cover the issues we really wanted? Is everyone happy with it? And no. And I've gone too down that path before I've actually felt, you know what? Rather than I've started the journey, pull the plug, it's not right. Let's do the due diligence and go back. And we've done that recently. So I think you have to be open and honest. And I think sometimes actually take a step back, review, reflect, include everybody, right for us as a business, and then make a collective decision what's going on, rather than, emotionally that feels right, let's go with it, and take too long before you actually realise and actually think, okay, I made a mistake, let's go back and how do we fix it?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It's such a fine balance, isn't it? Because it's like it's like seeing things through, but also reviewing that. There's no point trying to plug a dead horse. If it's not right, we need to move. And it's such a fine balance. And I guess that's why we have, we're in those roles to be able to make those calls and use our experience, which you've clearly got. And Darren, I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation, so I'm keen to know the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, or life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
To be fair, it's a hard one, is that one, because as I said, I've had the luxury and the benefit of working with some really senior leaders and some coaches across a lot of multinational PLCs, and have all made a lasting impression. So I probably wouldn't pick one out just because I feel guilty to an array of people I've had. But what I probably would say, without sitting on the fence and getting splinters, what I probably would say is the ones who's had the biggest impact on my career is the ones who's actually pushed me forward, challenged me understanding, but also given me time and actually clarified what's your decision-making process on that? Why have you gone that way, right? and actually invested time and also money and effort. So I probably did more, I've done more training and more coaching when I left school than whenever I did, whether that was night school, university, workplace, and things like that. So I think from coaches I've had who's actually spent time, challenged, and invested in me as a person, I think they're probably people I would always relate to. And I think, like anything, you try to take the best of everyone who you work with, one who's been straight talking, right, challenging, and you know where you stand with them, right, to the person who's really coaching and actually doesn't give you the answer, but actually gets you to think for yourself and get the solution. So I think they're the people I would probably choose from a selection of people I work with.
Brilliant, brilliant. And whether it's from them or other sources, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings about business or success in general that you catch yourself using on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think if you went through to any of the teams I've had, we've had some really successful teams winning teams a year and things like that, and good staff retention. I think the biggest one everyone would say from me is people by people, right? And don't forget where you come from. So I think remember who you are and treat people how you want to be treated yourself. And I think it's all about people and relationships, and it always has been and always will be for me.
Couldn't agree more. And you know, and that'll go way past things like AI, etc. It'll still be absolutely, they can support it, absolutely but it is still going to be a people to people situation for a long time, I'm sure.
As well.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, and similarly, any favourite books or podcasts you can recommend about business or again life or success in general?
Yeah, out of my family, I'm probably the worst one at reading books, right? On there, so I'm on there. I do quite like podcasts, and I listen to a selection of them. So I haven't got a favourite one. I do alternate and change. So there isn't one which I prefer. I'll alternate between the different ones, but I quite like learning, development, training, and the different entrepreneurs. So I do believe you should always constantly learn, and I still do that myself, whether that's networking, seminars, and I do a lot of events. I go to a lot of entrepreneurs things because I think it's always about learning and improving. It's irrelevant what level of knowledge you've got or number of years. You can always learn and improve. And I think there's that old saying is, if you walk into a room and you have a cleverest bloke, walk into another one. Do you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. It's interesting. I spoke to somebody. I remember interviewing years ago, and he said he introduces investors to businesses looking for investment. That's part of what they do. And he said something that stuck with me. And he said, if a CEO in a business that they're investing in says they've nailed it, they know it all, it's the time for them to move on. It's lifelong learning, isn't it? There was a great story actually and I don't know it to be true, but I love it, so I'll keep telling it. But if you remember Tony Benn, Sir Anthony Wedgwood Benn, the law Wedgwood Benn, anyway, Tony Benn, the Labour MP, and when he retired from Parliament and I think the House of Lords, he used to speak quite often at universities and institutes of learning, and he'd always start his speech saying, "We all wake up in the morning knowing less than we did the day before." And apparently, all the lecturers go, "Well, you can't say that. We're in a university." But his point was the amount of knowledge available in the world is growing so fast that our percentage is falling back. But especially why we need to keep learning, because it's like if we've learned enough, then we're probably toast in many ways.
No, I can't remember which coach I used to work with, but I always remember, like, Darren, go in, you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use it that way, and be a sponge, right? Literally absorb as much information as you can, right? And it'll always help you, obviously, in your career. And it's little things like that which always you remember and sit with you when you go in. It's not about a person putting your hand up, even most vocalists. Sometimes it's just listening, observing, taking it all in and contributing when and where you can add value.
Love it, love it. It's funny you say that. I've always liked the phrase, and I think it was Stephen Covey that had it, which was listen to understand rather than to respond. We
yeah,
just always stood me back. And I remember first hearing it said, yeah, okay, yeah, sometimes I want to say, and I'm not listening because I want to comment. But I saw a young American guy, and he was a Harvard graduate, and he gave his sort of graduation speech online. It was only came out recently, and he was talking about it. But he's catch without going into the detail that the thing he said was listen as if I might be wrong. And I just thought that's so powerful, isn't it? If I
yeah,
think I'm, because I don't know about you, I catch myself as much
yeah,
as I like to learn, catch yourself thinking I know the answer before it happens, and it's like, no, I might be wrong. I,
yeah.
so I'm trying hard. I have to say it's not easy, but it's it's fascinating. So just stay on the learning front for a second more. What would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far, Darren?
Um, I think what I've learned is, as you said, you don't always know the answer, and I don't think you always need to have the answer. I think one biggest thing in earlier in my career as I was progressing, I think I felt I should always have the answer and I should not ask the questions. And I think as you grow probably in confidence and as a person, and I don't think there's anything wrong saying, actually, I don't know the answer to that, but I will go find out, right?
Brilliant.
And surround yourself with really talented people, right? And I think the biggest thing for me, and I always remember spending many directors and like managers I've worked with going in on dual like recruitment for different regions, someone independent, and like, you taking them on? No. And I remember saying, I think they could be challenging my career or that they might be going for my job. And I always felt it was a naive thing to do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll take someone on if they can bring fresh ideas and support us to accelerate. Why would you not? So I think for me, you don't always know the answer, but bring people in who can assist you and help you transform and progress. And don't be afraid to actually admit you don't know the answer.
Brilliant. Love it. And I must admit, it's a big part of the coaching part of the business coaching that we do is that we're about questions, not about answers. We've got a whole
Yeah,
bunch of knowledge and expertise. I mean, we've got systems, processes, strategies, a whole bunch of stuff, but it starts with questions because
yeah,
it's a combination. Because, I personally believe as a coach that everyone that I work with has everything they need inside them already to get where they want to go. And there might be support on a particular thing, but it's more about helping people find their way forward rather than telling them the way forward, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
No, I think the one thing which I've been very lucky, obviously, in my career, we've obviously the management training, the learning, the different courses, the mentoring and things like that. And I think, as you said to you, there's nothing better when you don't know the answer, but working collectively together to
Yep.
get to the right solution. And again, it's about bringing everyone's different strengths and weaknesses and qualities together to get the output. So, yeah, I think it's collaboration.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw a presentation many years ago, and they were describing that they wired up people's
Yeah,
brains, so they were watching brain activity, and
yeah,
they found that the brain fired up 34% more when people talked about a problem than when they just thought about a problem.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the point about collaboration is absolutely bang on. We're going to get more out of ourselves and each other if we talk and discuss rather than if we just sit and think.
Yeah,
And
it's reality, but then how do you actually change it, amend it, and what is it? What's the solution? What's the solution and the path to clear it? Yeah,
absolutely, I think it was I think the same presentation they talked about the get it right the Carnegie family, Andrew Carnegie, the oil, the oil what would be
yeah,
billionaires. I think they were millionaires at the time. And the family, because it was very much a family business, they all walked to work together and
yeah,
talked as part of that process, was just discussing yesterday, today, and just fired off each other so much that they created a whole bunch of value just by having those conversations on a regular basis.
yeah. No, I totally agree with you, definitely.
So I'd be interested to know in Action Coach, Darren, we have a definition of what we call a true business, which is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without its owners and leaders. And I'm just keen to know what you think about that as a definition and where you'd say you guys are at the moment with that, if you accepted it as being a fair one.
Yeah, sure. Would you just repeat that? Sorry, Chris. The sound was a bit poorly, so apologies.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So we believe a true business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without its owners and leaders, or at least can work without its owners and leaders, And I'm just keen to know where you'd feel that, how you feel about
Yeah.
that as a definition, and where you guys are at the moment with that.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. I think there is obviously restrictions and barriers you probably need to put in regard to spending levels,
Yep.
on restrictions
Yes.
like that. However, right, what I do totally agree with, and I've seen it from running large corporate media commercial teams, with autonomy, to working for yourself. And I think the difference is when you give people autonomy and you give them trust and you give them the opportunity to grow, you get so much more.
Yeah.
So yes, we have all got obviously job roles, specifications. However, how one person achieves it compared to another is totally flexible in how they can do it, right? And if they want to go buy something, if they want to do something totally different, that's open to them, right? As is about looking after the customer, being agile, be responsive, but how people get to the solution is totally different. And everyone are unique, and I think that's about people. So we do give people autonomy. We're there, we're able to support them, but we don't micromanage, and we don't have to be involved in the decision-making process or cycle. They can come to that themselves and then involve us as and when they want extra support.
Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. And so then looking forward, Darren, for a second, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Yeah, I suppose with us is we're very positive about the future. We really are. Is I think we talk about. I'll just say Leeds because it's where I'm passionate about. I
Yep.
live in Leeds. I'm passionate about Leeds. My two children are growing up in. One's 27 this week on Thursday. The other one's 30 in October. They've both got their own houses now. They're both starting their own careers. So I think about it as a proud parent, as a business owner. What does the future look like for them, right? So,
Yep.
for example, what are the growth opportunities within the marketplace? What's the learning opportunities? Is it sustainable? What's the infrastructure like? And I quite look at, we talked about us as a company at the beginning. I didn't mention every client, but one of our clients is the University of Leeds, so I'll just mention them. So I think there's universities, there's opportunity for development. Another event I was at this week was West Yorkshire Combined Authority, learning a new development and learning opportunities for everyone to have time to progress in their careers, whether they're in employment or not, or they want to progress. So when I look and see what's going on within in the community in West Yorkshire, it's really positive. And obviously I'm aware of what's going on in regard to the infrastructure. So I think there's lots of opportunities down the line where people can really progress and learn. I think what I would say, it's making things simpler and easy accessible, because like again, whether it's a university and academia or a combined authority, they have their own terminology, and I think it's making it simple for younger people talking in their language, their obviously mindset, making it simple. But I think there's some really good opportunities without getting into politics in too much. Obviously, we'll see what happens going forward. You've got an opportunity for another mayor, right? Potentially could be leading UK. So from somebody who's potentially been in a region in the northwest, looking after the region and not just the whole UK, you think actually could we have an even spread of obviously levelling up from the south to the north, right? So I'm quite positive. As a business, we've just taken someone on recently in the last 2 weeks. So we're looking to upskill, increase our workforce. We took an intern on over a year ago. We've made them full time. So we're looking to progress and take more people on, because I think if you look after the customers, you really give good customer service and business can grow, and it helps us and it also helps the economy.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Wonderful. To final question, what advice would you give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that, Darren?
Yeah, I think it comes back to reflect. I think don't be too impatient to run, right?
Brilliant.
And I would say analyze, collaborate, speak to people, gain advice, ask for help, right? Come up with a sustained, logical plan and stick to the plan, right? Believe in the plan and the structure, and then get yourself with a good support network who can assist you. And then obviously have the usual enthusiasm, ambition, hard work, and tenacity, but stick with a plan and then collaborate with good people around you.
Wonderful. Very, very wise words, I think, for anybody. So,
Thank you
Da-
very much indeed.
Darren, it's been really fascinating to talk to you today. I really thank you for sharing some of your thoughts and your openness about about yourself and your business. And for anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or the Ark Media, what would be the best way of doing that?
Yeah, the best way that could do is my email address is darren at the arkmedia.co.uk, or you can go on our website. You'll see myself as the MD. We have a contact line opportunity on our website, which is the Ark Marketing Media, and I'd be happy to obviously collaborate and spend some time. As I said, I've recently gone into the University of Leeds, spent some time with some people, just doing their MBAs, going through the university. We've got an intern, so I'm a big believer. I'm trying, not saying that we succeed, but I'm happy to spend time with people, and we do some. I was asked to go do some interviewing skills, talk to them about the CVs. I'm happy to collaborate and help people because
Brilliant.
I started my career once time, and as I said to you about some coaches, I do believe the time we take the time and the effort to invest in you makes a difference. So if I can assist anyone, I'll be glad to help take some time and spend any time with anyone.
Love it. Well, thank you so much again, and it'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see how things
Yeah,
are progressing. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
you're more than welcome. Chris, thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.